So Palworld is finally out and millions of new players are finally jumping in and exploring this crazy adventure. Lucky for you guys, I've been investing an abnormal amount of time playing Palworld. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you the best ways to get OP early in Palworld. This is going to involve bases, certain pals, some really nuanced things that a lot of players may or may not know. And this is going to just be some of the best ways to get very powerful so your start or even your mid game is very strong. And with that said, let's dive into my first tip. So for my first tip, I'm going to be showing you the arguable best base location, at the very least a mining location you should consider building if you're looking for a place to build or you're trying to tackle some super valuable resources that you definitely will need transitioning into the mid and late game of the game. And that's going to be where I'm located now. And as you can see, I have established what I would call the best mining location in all of Palworld. Now, this is where it's at on the map. I don't think I have a coordinate. Oh yeah, actually I can. It's 9 minus 524 is the location on the map, and this is going to be the best location. It's not actually too far from where you start at, so it's a really nice accessible place. You can actually navigate all the way here. And as you can see, this place has a mountain of iron or ore, I think they call it here, and you can just have these pals just mine it up. Now I'm gonna show you where I get these pals at on the map, and I'll show you a clip of them. But here I'm just gonna show you the basic setup that you should consider doing. So first off, you're gonna need a food setup. So just get a basket. Over here I have some basic resources, so they're gonna just pump out berries. And then I'm gonna have a mine here. Now the reason for the mine is pretty simple. As you can see here, we have tons of stone. And this is gonna be your location for a paladin as well, because that's going to be your biggest bottleneck probably for pretty much the entire game. That's the thing that's been the hardest to deal with, and having these guys have this here is really nice. And we should build a little thing to convert them, which we're going to do. But as you can see as well, they have a lot of mines here, and we have the boxes here just putting ores and stuff like that into them. They seem to put it sporadically. We're going to get more, but this is going to be the ideal location. As you can see, there's so much on the ground for you to basically build. Now I'm going to quickly show you the pals that you should have in here. So of course we have the dig toys. This one's going to be found in the desert right about here where you find Anubis. This will be the essential area for them. They're like level 18 to 23, so you need to be, I would say, close to mid game to start getting these. I also have a carrier. I use Kilimari. Kilimari only has carrying level 2 and then gathering, and this is like super good because I want him to like move things over. Of course, you're going to need a fox part because he's going to run the forges. And then I have a pingulette, which is going to be really good to just basically water the plants that you have. And then I have the tansy. He's going to be putting the seed down. So these guys are going to just functionally keep the food going, while these guys just mine everything here and just generate tons of resources for arguably two of the toughest resources in the game. Moving on to my next tip, and as you could probably tell, I have a lot of arrows as well as pal balls just kind of laying around. And if you look at my inventory, you'll notice I'll still have a lot of pal balls, a lot of general arrows, resources, and stuff like that. And that's because of one specific pal, and that is Vexy. The great thing about Vexy is sometimes they will dig up items from the ground when assigned to a ranch, and obviously here, this is the ranch that we have. Now I'm going to show you some snippets of all the different times I've come back to base and had a mountain of resources. But the thing is with Vexy is this is going to be probably one of the best pals to get once you transition into the mid. You can start building up early game because I'm going to show you a spot where you can farm them. You can find them in this autumn like area here. They're a little sporadic on how they're spread out, and there's not always a lot of them, but ultimately they're going to be really good pals because they give you so many different resources. They're going to drop gold, they're going to drop arrows, they're going to drop pal balls, they're going to drop a lot of different things that are actually very useful, and they're going to be one of the best automation based pals in the game. Now personally, as I said a moment ago, you definitely want to wait until you're probably transitioning into the mid game, like basically where I'm at, where you can set up multiple ranches and maybe even a second or third base where you can have these guys just going on, making gold, making arrows, making resources, so that you can have a renewable source of those specific things. For my next tip, this is going to be a very simple one that I think a lot of players have struggled with, including myself, but I'm going to show you quickly how to get wheat seeds. So on the way to actually one of the base locations, the mining location I showed you, or where you're picking up Vexy, you can actually find a settlement that actually has a vendor that sells a lot of different resources. The main one that you're going to want to buy here is the wheat seed, because I haven't seen a way to find them. and it's going to be the best place to just get them very easy so you can progress your base, because in order to get your second base you need to build a wheat farm, and you can only get it from having wheat seeds. Now, as you can see in the screenshot or in the video I'm showing you, this is where you can basically go to get it, and you're going to have a teleporter come straight here. But this is a very simple quick tip I just wanted to give you really quick. Now moving on to my next tip, and this tip is going to be focused around just getting a lot of XP as well as how to properly capture in Palworld. So the first thing to note about capturing and as well as XP is the more pals you capture, basically more XP you'll get, and you get a bonus once you get about 10 of them. Now after 10, it becomes less valuable to get, but later on you're going to actually use pals in the pal distillation pod, and this is going to basically combine pals into one pal and make their rank go up, making that specific pal much stronger. And this is gonna probably be a little bit more later game, but the point is there's never going to be a point in the game where you don't want to actively catch pals. But since Vixie is going to help you early on, going to the starter zones and just basically catching them is going to be good. So just get 10 of each pal. That's going to be fundamentally the best way to level. When you capture them, they give you significantly more experience than when you go out and kill them. So pals are going to be something you want to actively capture as much as you want. It's kind of weird that this game is more incentivized to pretty much catch them all and catch a lot more because it gives you so much XP. But it is really good how they designed this system. Now on top of this, I did want to go over a tip that I noticed whenever you're catching pals, and that is pals have a back modifier whenever you throw the pal ball at them. So as you can see in the footage right now, when I'm looking at them and then I'm not like at their back, I don't get as big as a bonus. It's a smaller bonus, but when I'm throwing it at their back, you're going to get an increase so that you'll have a higher chance of basically catching them. In my opinion, you want to try your best to just position yourself. Even if you start to do a capture, you can see where he kind of got captured at and he's going to come out the same spot. So you can just position yourself to get behind a pal and keep doing it and get that bonus so that you can make your captures a little bit easier, because sometimes it's going to be harder to capture some of those higher level pals whenever you're not like efficient on that. With that in mind, if you do want to get an easy way of trying to basically increase your way to capture, there's basically this location on the map that lets you use the Lip Monk's essence that you find around the map to basically help you capture pals a little bit easier. Now you can build this if you want to. It does require some pretty hefty resources, but the reason why I'm showing this location on the map is because it's going to be a fast travel point that you can go to, and it's just a few button clicks without having to invest resources if you don't care about that kind of stuff. So it's going to be located here at the Marsh Island, at the top right island, not the very top right, but the one below it, as you can see here. And then you're going to take the Marsh Island Church Ruin teleport, and once you get here, you're just going to come to the statue and just transfer those souls and get yourself some better capturing ability. Also, one thing to note about this place is there's 2 treasure chests that spawn here, so this is going to be a good little resource boost maybe in the early mid game that you may need. So again, it's a really worthwhile place to go to. So we're back in the base, and in this tip I'm just going to give you some advice on how stats work in the game. And one thing to really note, as of right now and through my other playthrough, because I do have a level 40, I have not found a way to respec your stats. Maybe they'll add that in a future update, but I want to give you best stat advice, because if you do put stats in like really bad things, you're actually going to end up wasting points, and there's some super valuable points that I think are way more better than others. So let's go over them. So as you can see right now at level 28 on this character, I have 1400 HP, 150 stamina, 100 base attack, 127 defense, 100 work speed, and 1000 weight. Now when it comes to stat priorities, early on you're going to heavily prioritize weight, followed by HP. That's going to be interchangeable depending on if you're going to cave early or you're going to be taming a lot more, or base building. So obviously if you're base building, weight's going to be more valuable. If you're actively doing caves, HP is going to be more valuable in that regard, but definitely going to be one of those 2 things, followed by stamina, because you're always going to need stamina to navigate around the map. Whether you're actually base building or you're actually fighting, stamina is going to be useful. Personally, I would not put stamina over 200 unless I'm transitioning into the end game where I'm using the glider a little bit more. But even then, I don't see myself going over 150 to 200. Plus you can use other things to like increase this. For attack specifically, I would never use attack. Attack is, in my opinion, the objective worst stat you can put your stats into. This is going to only increase your player attack, and more times than not your pal's going to do most of the damage. And as you get weapons, they're going to scale your damage, And so there's really no reason to put attack in unless you're using spear early game, but even then that's such a small portion of the game that you'll basically be wasting points. And if I'm not mistaken, attack gives you 2-point increase per point. That's a 2% increase of your base attack damage, and that is absolutely atrocious and terrible. That is the worst stat. Do not put in anything into attack. Now, I don't know the conversion on how defense work in the game, and personally, I don't like defense overall because you generally shouldn't want to get hit. Plus, you have shields that's going to functionally function as a defensive mechanic. And more importantly, you have accessories like these that can actually give you increased stats like stamina, health, that can give you things like defense. So putting your resources, your precious points into these stats like defense is super worthless. Very similar to work speed, it is absolutely worthless as well. Of course, this is going to help you do tasks in your base, but if you're playing Palworld in the way that you should, or at least the way it's intended, you're going to essentially have your pals do all of that for you. Like, of course, you're going to help them out, but in the grand scheme of things, your pals are going to be the ones that's doing majority of the labor. You're just built specifically not to be good at it, and that's how the dev team designed it. But if you're putting things into work speed, you're basically wasting points. I don't want to like make players feel like they're wasting their points or wasting their time, but if you do have any attack, defense, work speed, make sure you don't put any more into these because you're going to essentially just waste points, and that's not necessarily good. Anyway, that is going to be pretty much all the tips that I feel is going to be very important to get you OP early. Of course, there's plenty other things like specifically singling out bosses that you see on the map, capturing them, and just kind of positioning yourself in a really good way. But these are going to be the best tips that you could use to basically give you the best early start that's going to help you transition to the end game and be the strongest you that you can be. With that said, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Now, if you want to, consider leaving a like as well as subscribing to the channel if this video helped you out. Subscribing actually helps me grow as a creator so I can produce more content just like this. Hopefully you guys have a great adventure in Palworld. Saga out.